posting things like this. From March 2025, he posts this letter from the Epstein files. Again, only a partial release of the Epstein files has been made public. There's still 3 million documents, which could be as many as 25 to 50 million pages that have not been produced. But here's what Massey posts. This is from March 2025. Who is protected under this transparency task? Presidents, Secretary of State, celebrities. Nothing would have been released if Ro Khanna, Congress member Ro Khanna, and I had enforced this. But even now, and against the law, they are withholding information to protect perpetrators. Right? We also are learning that Ghislaine Maxwell, who spoke with Donald Trump's number 2 at the DOJ, Todd Blanche, who used to be Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorney. That's what Blanche's role was. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell, she's supposed to have her deposition taken by the House Oversight Committee on Monday. Even though she spoke with Todd Blanche, she's now going to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights.
That woman should have absolutely no way to invoke any fucking anything. She's a fucking prisoner. She is a
questions from the House Oversight Committee.
You don't have a right to say I plead fifth. You are owned right now by the government, Maxine Maxwell.
She had to wait until the Supreme Court ruling on her case so that she'd be able to testify, because she said she would have to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights.
You don't have rights once you're a fucking inmate, if I'm not mistaken.
Ruled against her. They didn't overturn the conviction that she's a child sex trafficker. She said she was going to testify, and now she's going to invoke.
Why are we even letting her testify?
Cover up after cover up here. That's why I want to go through with you in this methodical detail. But
makes no fucking sense.
2025 email.
Like we're going to believe a sex trafficker. The fuck?
Department.
Why Donald Trump is even in the White House? Beyond me.
Internally, the clear and specific guidance to redact images of former U.S. presidents, Secretary of State, and other celebrities who may be in the files.
And that was used to blackmail people, because if you go and put the president and Elon Musk and all these high-ranking officials into this bullshit, well, then you create a cover. Then you have Secret Service, FBI, and all this other stuff who only protected the people there, and they were given orders not to bother the other guests and shit like that. Well, why do you do that? You do that to create a cover of fucking sex trafficking, fucking prostitution, and fucking murder. That's why, you fucking whore.
Let's talk about, though, that DOJ 86-page prosecution memo. The prosecution memo was dated December 19th, 2019. Notably, when I reviewed all 3 million documents in the Epstein files, one of that have been produced so far, the partial release of documents, that is, one of the things I noticed is, where's all the internal communications and internal memos, deliberative process information, intra-office, inter-office communications?
Hey,
where are the FBI victim interviews, survivor interviews? They just weren't there. But this one was produced, which I found interesting. But then all of a sudden, it was deleted from the public database. Fortunately, we downloaded.
Yeah, Trump needs to be out of office and put in prison. They should put him in the fucking alligator alley. You make it, they will come. You make it, we will put you there.
But as Julie K. Brown writes, DOJ's 86-page prosecution memo listing possible co-conspirators in the Epstein case and the victims' allegations against those possible co-conspirators disappeared from their website after the Miami Herald questioned them about the list. So take a look over here. You'll notice on top of this memo, this is the 86-page prosecution memo. It says privileged, attorney work product, deliberative process, confidential, subject to federal rule of criminal procedure, 6E, and you'll see it says to Jeffrey Berman. He was the Maine United States Attorney, the lead federal prosecutor for the Southern District of New York during this time period. It's from all of his AUSAs, but for whatever reason, their names are redacted. I'm not sure why it's redacted. One of them should be Maureen Comey, who the Trump regime fired. She was the one who prosecuted Epstein and Ghislaine. It's dated December 19, 2019, and it says investigation into potential co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein. And the memo says, this memorandum details details the investigative steps taken since the indictment of Jeffrey Epstein in his district on July 2nd, 2019, and analyzes the extent to which certain of Epstein's
And once he dies, doesn't his fucking, what do you call it, come null and void? You don't have to protect whatever fucking the FBI and CIA gave him to give him the fucking shit. He's dead. We don't have to withstand that anymore.
Right, Epstein died.
Bring these motherfuckers down already.
Early-ish August. But when I was going through this document, one of the things I noticed is that, like, go to page 69,
you can freeze tomatoes, guys.
79. I can keep going through these. Where it is supposed to mention the co-conspirators, all of that is redacted. Like, all of those names are redacted. There are certain portions that reference, maybe other people, but most of this document is still redacted, but it was made public. None of that should be redacted, and this document should still be made public. We should know who all the co-conspirators are, right? Like this, when people talk about lists, this 86-page prosecution memo would be a list of co-conspirators and the analysis by the DOJ at that time in 2019 about whether these people on the list should be prosecuted. Now, look, in 2019, it would make sense for there to be what's called a deliberative process privilege, because if you charged these individuals, the deliberative process privilege is like your work product, your memos, your interoffice communications. That stuff is not made public during criminal cases in general. You have to produce all the evidence that you have against the criminal defendant. They're presumed innocent until they're found guilty, but you wouldn't turn over all of your inter-office emails. It would be giving away, today's the Super Bowl, for example. It would be like giving away your playbook, right, to the other side. Instead of, you have to show what's happening in the game. You don't give away the playbook. For purposes of the Epstein Transparency Act, the whole thing is reveal your playbook. The deliberative process, right, the inter-office emails and memos, that's precisely the type of stuff that we want to see in the Epstein Transparency Act. Transparency, because we want to know who are on the lists, who are you considering charging, why didn't you charge them? That's precisely what we want. And
because they're getting paid off.
Prosecution.
Come on, go and check who's holding fucking oil, fucking bonds and shit like that. Sitting in the fucking White House, sitting in fucking Congress.
So we saved it, and what I suppose should happen now is that if you look at the Bates number over here, you see this? EFTA, let's take a look at the Bates number, bottom right. EFTA 2731082. By the way, you see there's another Bates number there, because all this stuff was made available, was ready to be produced years ago if they wanted to. There was no reason for any delay here, but we should just ask in a public records request, and people are doing this, produce EFTA 02730182, that whole series of Bates numbers and all of these other internal memos, and remove the redactions, because that violates the Epstein Transparency Act. Aaron Parnas, who's got his own great YouTube site, and he works with the Midas Touch Network as well. Aaron also learned the following from his sources. Epstein survivors tell me that they were told in meetings with Republican lawmakers that everyone was supportive of asking Pam Bondi hard questions about the Epstein files when she appears for her testimony this week. She's testifying before the House Judiciary Committee. But afterwards, they were told by a source in the Republican establishment that those questions won't be asked. Republican members have been told to avoid any questions about the Epstein files and to only focus on the, quote, positives that Bondi accomplished during her testimony. So again, it's cover up after cover up after cover up. And finally, FBI agents
covered up for criminals.
Warrant prepared to document blood splatter and bullet holes in Renee Good's SUV, but they received orders to stop from Kash Patel. And at the highest levels of
his name's in the files
Times
too.
Reports the fear a civil rights investigation would contradict Donald Trump's claim that Good violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who fired at her as she drove away her vehicle. So you have Joseph Thompson right here, who's one of the top top federal prosecutors in Minneapolis. He did the right thing in the sense that he wrote in an email to colleagues that the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, a state agency that specializes in investigating police shootings, would team up with the FBI to determine whether the shooting had been justified and lawful or had violated Renee Nicole Good's civil rights. That's the appropriate protocol, even though it should be obvious to us on the video that her civil rights were violated. You go through the investigation, you do blood splatter reports, you do a search warrant to determine if excessive force was used. That's the normal protocol. But later in the week, FBI agents, equipped with a signed warrant, prepared to document blood splatter and bullet holes in Miss Good's SUV, received orders to stop. And instead, what the Trump DOJ said, what you need to focus on is the opposite: an assault on the officer, and whether Renee Nicole Good's wife was responsible for the murder of Renee Nicole Good. And that's when all those prosecutors in Minneapolis resigned right here. Just share this with you as well. Other Epstein emails. Like, this is why this is so deeply serious. Saturday, October 19th, 2013. From somebody who's redacted. Why is this name redacted right here? To Jeffrey Epstein. Is she too old for you? LOL. Well, I will hunt my other Czech friends. And Epstein says, too old. Who's that person and why are they redacted? Who is being protected right here? How about this? In a 2018 email, Epstein casually acknowledges himself as a sex trafficker with no denials. He says he met someone who was working on a movie about a sex trafficker who had a private island with sex slaves, and he informed her that that's him. And she's doing a movie about him. And she didn't realize that she was talking to the guy she's making a movie about. And, quote, she almost fainted. Or how about this? Aaron Parnas reports, who sent Jeffrey Epstein an image of what appears to be a 10-year-old child? And
disgusting pig
redacted?
deserves to be hung.
10. How
Maybe this
sick
is
and
witch trials
disgusting
and they're a
can
bunch of
you get?
assholes.
I mean, by the
How
way,
do people like that even
can I share
survive
this
on
with
this
you as
planet?
well?
How do we even let
So
them
back
survive
in
on this planet?
2017, there were these pranksters who tried to set up Prime Minister Carney, who at the time was the lead banker for the Bank of England. He was the lead governor of the Bank of England. And so the pranksters wrote this to Prime Minister Carney. They said something like this. Actually, I'm glad to hear from you. Someone was posing as Anthony Hopgood. I don't think it was actually Hopgood.
Hopgood, like
Who's
Hopgood.
a business person in the UK. I'm glad I heard from you. I'm having summer night theme soiree on Saturday, June 17th. As much martini as you can take. Are you free? And then Mark Carney says, sounds ideal. We'll check at home and at work. And then this person posing as Anthony Hopgood in 2017 says, excellent. I've hired some rather dashing bar ladies. Is that PC? If you ask for crystal glasses, you'll be able to admire their enchanting dexterity. I keep those glasses low down. You don't reach my age without knowing all of those tricks. And then Prime Minister Carney responds, sorry, Anthony, not appropriate at all. To which Hopgood responds, well, report me to Brussels then. You did know I was joking, didn't you? It's an old story, my
This
friend.
world has got to change.
Even though that was a prankster trying to set up Carney, do you see how Carney kept it professional the entire time? It said, that's not appropriate. That's the right response. Not appropriate. I'm not engaging in these types of communications or conversations. I just think that's interesting because when people try to set him up, that's how Carney behaved. Shut it down. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million, and thanks so much for watching. Love this video? Support independent media.
My Touch Network, man, you make my job so much easier channeling the truth because everybody else, y'all need to get your fucking shit straight. Anyway, good morning, happy Sunday, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Well, I do, but I don't. So, anyway, what you up to? You going to work today? If that's you, outer space I'm talking about. I don't know if that's still you or not. Making myself some vegetable soup. Vegetable soup. I woke up not feeling well, sore throat. I guess it's that whole getting hot and cold in Florida, whatever. Hello, guys. How are you? So, Super Bowl Sunday. I keep hearing something about, I don't know, California. I don't know names. Who gives a shit, right? Anyways, what is everybody up to? Oh, you want to see a puppy, guys? Look at this puppy. He's so cute. He's sleepy. That Stitch. And then that's Scarlet. Little baby girl. Why are you in the kennel? Did you eat and everything? That's Sprout. And that's Salem. And we got new additions. Look at them. They're like 3-4 years old. 3 or 4 days old. And yes, my kitty cats are in a bird cage. But yeah, that is what it is. My house is a mess. Sparty. What are you doing? You don't belong up there. That's not nice. What are you doing, Sapphire? Of course, Sappy's got some sort of thing going on over here. You got something going on? Get down. Too many puppies. Oh, a mess. You guys are messy. Ugh. Anyways. I'll see you all later.